Can you give me some slack? Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
Sweet. I want the tube microphone. People, who here knows what I mean when I say tube mic?
I assume you mean vacuum tube?
Ding, 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 ding. And what does a vacuum tube do to the sound?
Well, it
of a
allows it
mic?
to be analog as opposed to digital, for one thing, I imagine.
It wouldn't be digital without the tube, though.
If it was,
Yeah, it has to be, analog to be tube. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure what else it would do.
Makes it creamy.
Creamy. It makes it creamy. Here,
Creamy.
you speak into this mic, and I'll speak into this one. This would be called crunchy.
Creamy. Crunchy.
Creamy.
Crunchy.
Creamy.
Crunchy.
So for you just tuning in,
You're both peanut butter.
Put those on his head so that he knows how close not to get to the microphone.
okay. Oh, you can't put the microphone near the
But that's why I hate wires.
creamy.
But you hate
Crunchy.
Is that loud?
Creamy.
Headphones?
Crunchy.
Why? No,
Yeah.
I hate wires.
It's loud?
Why am I
Wires.
supposed to just
Well,
get-
no, it sounds good.
No, give that to him. So, my question is, what staff? Go ahead.
Okay, creamy.
No, apparently you're reading that.
Oh, I'm reading this.
Yeah.
Okay, I need my headphones.
Okay.
This is a urgent fax from Dr. Dick Berner. Dear John, oh, I'm sorry, it's a Dear John letter. Dear John, as I sit here in the Space Mountain Labs located at 1923 North, I have been observing today's show. Must not be very busy at Space Mountain Labs. Either that or he's capturing video and there's not much
And
else he can do.
projecting it into the future
I don't know.
so that when we get there, we'll
I just
have-
know that capturing is in real time and it usually takes me an hour.
Hi, Rick. Glad you're watching.
After speaking with staff here at Space Mountain, we have concluded that there is a need for viewers to take part of the tea party in some creative way. I'm interested to hear what he suggests. We have concluded that a call-in show would work as well as an internet chat from viewers at their locations. We conclude after a long research that this is needed. Dr. John, please discuss this with your staff. As always, Dick Berner. Oh, the rest is...
Hi, Dr. Berner. 779-0274. Give me a call.
I was wanting to ask about this.
You don't
I've
know who's
noticed
gonna call you now.
I've noticed
Well,
some phone numbers
I
on
think we're relative.
on
We've
the
tried
air.
that before and
Has
nobody
anybody
called,
called?
so I'm assuming that Dr. Berner just has the urge to call.
Well,
So
Well,
internet,
you know,
we can call
call
them
us,
back.
Rick. We can check
Now
email,
let me see the microphone because I now
and it
have,
can come in any
Now I have
time,
a
but we check it
response.
during
Okay.
the show.
Yes.
Mhm.
I want to
And it can come in during the show. as
we don't.
well.
I want to find out if people.
Okay, now let me have the headphones so I can see how close not to. Okay, Dr. Dick, here we go. Now this is the response.
well, this is true. I'm
We
only
might
paying
call it
attention
a
to the phone. If
rebuttal.
does this get repeated?
No,
Okay.
no.
All right. I feel
If
fine.
we're lucky. No. Dr. Dick, to begin with, we do not discuss things among our staff. We are not a democracy. For many reasons, mostly because we do not have a staff. But everybody involved, I basically tell them how it's going to be. Now, since you've come up with this wonderful idea, I want to suggest that you perhaps take the hour on Wednesday from 4 o'clock until 5 o'clock for your call-in show. And may I suggest that since you think it is such a good idea to have a call-in and interaction, that you take that hour Wednesdays from 4 until 5 and do an hour call-in, because I need the buffer. If you've been watching from the beginning, you see how prepared I was today for the show, and so I'm trying to hand off that hour
Well, let's
to
discuss
someone
this.
with a good idea.
I'm assuming that Dr. Berner is still listening, and I do want to hear what we have to say. So
Could have some
I
tea,
probably
please.
spit out my phone number a little bit too fast for you to write it down.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna give you one more chance to write this down.
Tea in
And you
there?
ready, Dr. Berner? Okay.
Here, I'll stick some.
I get some.
Okay. 779-0274.
Let's just get the water
And
boiling.
anybody
Is the
else that
water?
has something
no,
interesting to
is there
say
water
would
in
be
that?
interesting to hear from you as well. If you don't really have anything interesting to say, or you just want to make a phone call as well, I don't really want to hear from you then. Okay. All right.
Yep.
Best it can do.
It might be cool that they take emails.
Yes, but I don't think we have Wi-Fi here.
There you go.
And I don't know how to
Hello.
work.
Now, what's your language now?
Dr. Berner,
Oh, yeah, but they could call on their cell phone.
how are you?
No problem. It would be much easier to do that than
Excellent, excellent.
call on than to try to
And
email.
on call was half fashion.
Dr. Berner says everybody looks professional. Here, I'm going to go ahead and just put you on speakerphone and hold you to the microphone. How's that
Must
sound?
resist urge to do something
Does that work for you?
professional.
Okay.
The little micro that works. well.
And you're on speakerphone.
Hello, folks. I just want to say hello. I was just there at the Space Mountain Labs and had the opportunity to watch. I just wanted to mention that whenever I sit back here and watch the T Hour, which is a great program, by the way, every scientist here concludes that. It could be possible, Dr. John. I mean, I'm just throwing an idea out there. If we had something like a Yahoo chat line, if it would be possible there in the station to have a laptop in there, and if somebody wants to ask a question to any member of this that's in the Tea Party, if they want to have a question, then it just pop right on the screen, and that would be if we have access to the
He's
internet.
suggesting that we have a
VLB.
laptop so that they could email.
We'd have
Well,
to have
that's a
an
pretty good
internet.
idea. It might
And
take
is there
some
Wi-Fi here in the
doing.
building?
Huh?
Is there Wi-Fi here in the building?
No, there's not Wi-Fi here. in
There's
the
no
building. That's
Wi-Fi.
something that I have discussed
Well-
with our the guy who works on our computers, which is our member board. We have a member of the board that comes from the membership. His name is Peter,
Peter
and
Preston?
he I mentioned to him that so far they want to keep everybody out of their system, but I've talked with him about could we put in the proper firewalls and stuff to make everything safe enough that someone could bring their laptop and work.
So the
But
Wi-Fi doesn't
but I mean there's just so much that can be done, and I would tell Dr. Dick that I mean it's like all I can do to handle getting the teacups together for this thing and stuff.
Yeah.
And if he wanted to
So
get the
far.
laptop computer thing together and take an hour take the first hour for call-ins on Wednesdays from 4 until 5, and we could call it Dr. Dick's call-in or Dr. Dick's computer chat, whatever. You'll have to come up with a good name.
In the meantime, just
Well, it
call
always
in
be
on
your
the
show,
cell phone.
Dr. John.
No, take an hour. Take that hour. I need that hour. Take that hour.
He's asking me to take an hour somewhere along the line too, and
And do it, but you'll need to get up with Peter and ask him about getting the Wi-Fi going in the building because right now you can't tie your computer into the system.
Yeah.
You see,
That's something we'll just have to look into. I mean, it was just an idea I want to throw out there with everyone there at the table today.
you're not the first one to suggest it. It's been suggested about 2 or 3 times now. I'm waiting for someone to do it.
I got you. Well, I hope you have a great afternoon show. Thank you for.
Well, when will we see you again? Will you be with us later this week?
I couldn't hear you say again.
When will we see you again? Will you be with us later this week?
It may be Friday, Doctor. I'm in the middle of
Let
a
it go.
scientific experiment right now.
Oh, you're experimenting.
Conclude sometime Friday.
Are you projecting this program into the future?
Anything's possible.
Okay.
well, we look forward to seeing you when you can make it in.
And your
Thank you all.
oxygen.
Thank you, Matt. Bye-bye.
Pour
All
that,
right, bye.
Pour that water into that tea kettle. We are.
So what else are you shopping for on eBay? Let's tell the world so they'll bid against you.
I've been shopping for a serger,
Serger?
a sewing serger.
Well, I mean, I've been looking at different things. I've been looking at some cameras and stuff too. Basically, though, equipment for this room, and mostly I'm looking at some kind of a high, you know what the switcher and special effects generator and the CCG. You know what a CCG is? There's one. No, it's not in the back of my truck. I've got one. It's a color character generator. So it generates the crawl across the bottom of the screen that says you're watching the Mad Scientist Tea Party. A CCG, and so I'm looking for some used ones on eBay. Maybe we can get really cheap, so that we can. Yeah, you see.
I'm sad to announce. Oh, okay.
Oh, Laura's gone. Laura's leaving.
But basically, no, I mean, as far as the internet question goes, I was under the impression that this close to the courthouse, or at least within a line of sight of the courthouse, you have Buncombe free Wi-Fi.
Have you ever logged on to it?
I have, from the Jolie Rouge, which is...
Okay. Did you find it to be?
I found it to be reliable enough to check emails and possibly...
I found it to be. I felt like it infringed on my own privacy to begin with. I also found that it wanted to glom on, and like if I were around 3 or 4 other Wi-Fi systems, all with better signals than it was giving me, it wanted to be the one, and it wanted information. It wanted to know what my personal home address was. Come on in.
Oh, you can put whatever you want in those. You don't have to put anything. I mean, you could write.
Dr. Zach is here. Get a chair, Dr. Zach. Get a chair and maybe grab a cup.
Free Wi-Fi.
And then once I went through all the hassle to sign on and tell it who I was and where I lived.
You don't have to. You can put whatever you want in those fields.
Yes, you can. I could just out and out lie in those fields. Yes, I could do that. Yeah. But I figured.
5:47. Wow.
Oh, that means we don't have much longer.
We don't have much longer.
And it's getting really interesting.
It's beginning to pick up.
It always does towards the very
The
end.
last 15 minutes of the show is almost without a doubt.
We should write down
Nailing
it.
it.
Just start.
So we need to start drinking tea an hour before the show.
We should just all show up about an hour.
But,
Has anybody else gotten an opportunity to give their show a shameless plug?
I do the Southern Cuisine show. I'm
do
Davine.
you want to discuss it a bit? Do you want to tell us anything?
Yeah, what is
some
it? 'Cause
details?
I don't know anything about
and
it.
have,
Well-
and have Dr. Zach come in and talk about his show.
I started up because I lived in New Orleans for a long time, and I thought that after during Katrina, New Orleans got really, you saw just the worst of New Orleans, but then there's also a great part of New Orleans that you didn't see. And so to start the beginning of my cuisine show, I've been kind of based in New Orleans, and I did a gumbo show, which is a killer gumbo. And then I did an etouffee and a d'auberge cake, and then I'm fixing some red beans in the next week or so.
We have red beans. Are we gonna have red beans and rice?
Red beans and rice with andouille sauce.
I know we are.
should make
And-
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
know,
and I'll try to
beignets.
coincide it and bring it in here.
Yeah.
Make some beignets in there.
they are famous in New Orleans for
Creme brulee
serving
right there.
some red beans and rice.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
fun.
tradition on every Monday with the natives of New Orleans to cook up red beans and rice. It's been happening there for a long time because that's when you always did your laundry, and you'd have a pot of beans on the stove that didn't have to be tended very closely, and so you could spend all day with that washboard.
So that's what
Robin.
you do on Mondays. You spend it with a washboard.
Yeah,
You write
yeah,
there on the whiteboard.
right.
Don't mistake the bad beans
Just,
for the
just pushing the hair out of your face. Just going
Yeah,
at the washboard.
sweating
I know
and-
you are.
Yeah,
That's good.
but so
Oh, if you got one,
Friends from
and
New
you can
Orleans
get a
live
good
here.
washboard in New Orleans too.
yeah.
They got
Yeah, and you
the-
can actually play them for music too.
They got those
Oh, yeah.
brass ones, that have not only the ripples and the little
Yeah.
but the little grooves and stuff too, all of those stuff like that. You get yourself a couple of cymbals and put on your thing, and you get clicky clicky click, click
Yeah.
click
Yeah,
click.
yeah.
And I got a friend and he's got a tuna can like tacked to the side of his, so you clicky clicky click, toot, 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 and he's got a ching ching bell, and it's great. Yeah.
So that's my thing. I'm starting in New Orleans, and I'm cooking up a bunch of New Orleans stuff just so people remembers what great cuisine it has in the city.
Now, do you do this at home?
Yeah.
And you film it at home. Do you have? Okay, you said you have like you got A 110.
I've got a PDX 10.
Okay, and you bought it off eBay and you have it.
Yes, I have it.
And you've been using it?
Mhm.
Is that the only camera you use? You just do a
I have a backup that I do B-roll of one of the little Sonys, the first Sony that came out that burned to DVD in the camera.
Uh-huh.
So that's my B-roll
And
camera.
what do you edit on?
I edit right now. I'm editing on iMovie, but I'm in the process
You're
of
Apple.
transitioning over to Final Cut. Because I just got my Final Cut about a month ago. So,
It's expensive.
Well, all right.
so that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
So you have a home studio.
I have, yeah.
Do you voice over or do you just take it as you go?
Well, with my Mac, it's very hard to voice over unless you have some sort of special little iMic thing that, so I haven't been able to voice over very much. When I did voice over, I had to like put it layer it about 5 times to get the sound up
Uh-huh.
because of some way that the iMacs are configured that it just, you stick your little microphone thing in there and you think that you're recording, but it's like
It's a surprise.
little tiny voice that you can hardly hear.
It's not the right mic or something.
So no, there's no. I've read on like the support boards that it has something to do with some sort of weird way they put it together, but you just need some sort of projection to get it, to give it some oomph.
Yeah, see if Dr. Zach wants to
So-
come in and plug his show before we disappear.
So, but then since then, and now I find that I've gotten obsessed with obtaining all kinds of expensive video equipment. Like I went and I have jealousy. I have tripod envy, so I had to get my own bow gun and stuff like
God,
that.
envy, I love it.
It can be a Shane-filled plug if you want to do
Where do I
that.
need to wear this thing?
Here.
I got an AC.
I want to.
You want to? I thought we were getting for Jen. She wants to.
Now he didn't have his hit the last time. He needs a big
Shake it a
hit.
little bit. Shake it around a little bit. Yeah, no.
Oh.
John's had a little bit too much.
No, I haven't had not quite enough.
If he starts driving.
No, I was going to tell you, John, I wanted you to have this is very special.
Specialty?
Very special.
Oh,
Specialty.
Jen, did you see the accident that happened out here earlier?
Oh, what happened?
What's happened, Dr.
No.
Zach?
What happened?
No, a traffic accident.
That happened where?
On the parking lot.
Oh, the parking lot,
Do
yeah, it
you
was.
want to plug your show?
Yeah, somebody.
Do you want to come tell us about your show?
No.
2 of them. JJ.
Well, what is it? We'll plug
2
it.
of them.
2 cars?
Let's tell him how easy
She
it is to
backed
do
out
a
into
show,
a truck,
so that
pulled
more
forward
people will do
into another
shows.
car.
Oh, this is your public access station right here, and you are invited to come
I don't
on
think so.
Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays to the Mad Scientist Tea Party and talk about what you want to talk about, and all members of URTV are invited to come and go out live, and everybody is encouraged to come and join and become a member, and we, besides members of URTV, we also extend invitations to noted mad scientists in the area and internationally.
Some few minor requirements, among others, that, this word that I'm holding up to the people around the table, but I will not hold up to the camera, cannot be spoken.
So you too can learn how to be a famous movie producer. You can start right here on URTV.
Rutabaga.
It's a beginning.
I see you bring your own.
I got a topic I'd like to discuss. Does anyone here watch Battlestar Galactica?
Yes.
The old or new one?
New
I was
one.
in the bathroom earlier. I was reading a magazine that had a little breakdown of how they filmed the scene where the atomic bomb
Right.
comes and blows up the
The world.
what is no it was
Capricorn.
one of the ships.
Oh, okay.
And then because it blew up, the other ones around it blew up, and they were talking about how
Cloud9 got blown up.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
I remember
that
that.
Yeah, that's all I know about that.
They had the season finale a couple of nights ago.
For season 3?
For season 3, yeah.
I have not seen any of season 3. I just do, I don't have cable, so I just do it like it comes out in box set, and I watch it that way.
Delicious.
Well,
Yes, delicious.
the show has launched. Whether there is a shark underneath it or not remains to be seen. But it definitely took an interesting direction at the end of season 3.
A shark.
Shark?
Well, you've heard the expression "jump the shark." Oh, you haven't heard that?
Okay, this is one of these modern TV terms. Would you like to explain jump the
Yes.
shark or shall
Okay.
I? Go for it.
We need to hear this.
Okay, it means when a show goes off its rails, when it becomes creatively bankrupt. So named after the Happy Days episode where the Fonz gets on a water ski and jumps over a shark.
I remember that.
That was reckoned.
great.
It was reckoned as the episode where the Happy Days just went bad.
Wasn't this
Down
when
the
he was
tubes.
skiing in the Great Lakes too?
Could be.
Water ski, yeah.
And it's been expanded.
Hey.
So it's been expanded so that when saying jumps a shark, it has used up all its creative input. A
sitcom once like they bring in the cute little kid towards
that's
the
not
end.
fun.
That's one
That's-
example
An
right there.
alternative,
Brady Bunch.
alternative term for this
Arthur.
is something invented at the Mount Assembly, as I mentioned, creeping scrappy-doization.
All right. Also, I have another thing that I do as the mad professor sort of thing. I assign homework, and so I have an assignment before we go off. I have to give an assignment. Okay, and today's assignment is see the movie Videodrome.
I have seen it.
And for our viewing audience, before you view us again, see Videodrome.
Tell me about it.
Death to Videodrome. Long live the new flesh.
Long live the new flesh.
Long live the new flesh.
It's a David Cronenberg film from the early 80s, somewhat technologically dated in that it had spooky, evil, haunted VHS tapes, but
Beta tapes.
dated. Wow, yeah.
Oh, beta.
Yeah.
I think
That's
they
what
would have
killed
been
Beta.
more successful if they called them alpha tapes.
Really? Yeah. I
But
agree.
it is a true
The Omega
cyberpunk
tape.
movie.
It's
What were they
But
thinking?
It's also a much better.
what's so great about the movie is
Negative.
what the movie is about is what I mean. It presents itself as a science fiction movie, but what the movie is about is what is really going on.
Just
I mean,
that.
it's what the movie is
The
doing
one
is
thing that
actually
may lead to
telling the truth
ossification.
about television.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you didn't hear that
and it
discussion,
says
did
it.
you?
I was here, yeah.
It says it in there. It says use the tools that they've given you against and it uses the tools of television to tell the truth about television. And every word of Dr. Brian Oblivion must be savored.
He's based on a real person.
Brian,
Yeah,
I
he's
said
based
it.
on,
They are the
I think
scientists.
Marshall McLuhan.
is that right?
Yeah, he's a media theorist.
Yeah,
Is that
right.
that guy that was
The media
here in the
is
first
the
episode?
message.
Exactly, that's the guy. Also, for those who haven't seen it, it features Debbie Harry of Blondie.
In her finest role, finest role.
I have to
This
agree
is
with
this is true.
Yeah,
This
that
is true.
involves-
If for no other reason to see Deborah
the
Harry's
movie.
performance in this movie,
Yes.
She was on an episode of
it's
Bad
it's
TV with Stewart.
we can say orgasmic, can't we?
Yes.
It
remember
It was that
Then that means I can say the thing I was going to talk about earlier.
What was this?
We have 1 minute left.
Never mind, I'll just tell you.
Orgasm,
It has to do
orgasm.
with vegans and
See, I'm telling you, the last 15 minutes of the
Yes.
show is
5:57, 3 minutes.
Do we
is
want
the
to
time
end
for-
the
Yes, we gotta
show?
keep it, we gotta make it
Okay.
really interesting as we
So, if you're vegan,
Uh-huh.
let's say,
If you're a non-wussified vegan.
Right. Early
Well,
vegan stages.
by proxy, you would be a non-wussified vegan if you were doing such things as what I'm speaking of. But
Okay.
let's say you're involved in intimate activities that involve bodily fluids.
Right.
Do you not ingest those either? It's a really disgusting thing to talk about, but I mean, I'm kind of curious.
I've
Like,
never
do you
heard.
stay?
Do you spit or swallow?
a pure vegan.
I've never heard a vegan say,
Well, it's high in
Against that.
protein.
They're
That's
all
well,
wussified, but they
that's what
don't
I'm
do
saying.
that.
No, but
They're all
it's an
wussified. They
animal
don't even-
product.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I think that's where vegans get their protein. Because since they found that the soybean is actually depleting of the system.
Gives
that
you
right?
estrogens.
Yeah.
Estrogens.
Okay.
It's wussifying
All right,
you
I have some scientific information
Okay.
concerning that. And all. And as you know, as you may know that though that soybean are the number one high protein.
Right.
Da 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 da. How
Hi, I'm Sissy Majebe, and I'm the director of the Chinese Acupuncture Clinic. Today we've prepared a video to help orientate you as parents to how to give self-care for your child. So many times when our children are sick, it's at the weekend or nighttime. So what we're going to try and do is teach you some basic first aid techniques of things that you'll be able to use at home to work with your children when they're not feeling right. There'll be a number of practitioners who will be teaching you some different techniques today. Junie Norfleet and David Trevino, and also Joshua Hua will also be giving you some information. And we have a number of children who have agreed to be models for this video in order for us to help you to learn more about how to help your own child. My name is Sissy Majebe, and I'm the director of the Chinese Acupuncture Clinic. And Junie Norfleet, one of the licensed acupuncturists, and David Trevino, another licensed acupuncturist at our office, will also be stepping in and talking at some point in time. The first thing I wanted to talk with you a little bit about is children and their constitution. In case you haven't noticed, they're not just many adults. And, you know, in our culture, more and more, we are expecting children to act like many adults. We expect them to sit very quiet in an educational setting when their constitution is, from a Chinese medicine perspective, we would say they're very young. Now, everybody here knows what that means, because that means that your child is moving and running and doing things constantly. You know, the type of energy they have that allows them to run non-stop for 16 hours a day exhausts us. And that's because they're so much more young. What that means is when they get a fever, they're going to spike a real high fever compared to us, okay? And because of that extra young energy, it's possible for them to get sick really fast, but then they get well quicker than we do. We've all noticed that. Our kids can be lying out one day as if they, you know, they're totally non-responsive. They're just sitting there with begging them to eat or drink fluids. And the next day they're running around. Or if we had been that sick, it would take us a week to get over it. But that's because they have so much yang qi from a Chinese medicine perspective. The other thing about children is we say that they're born with weak digestive systems, okay? First of all, they don't even have the teeth, you know, that helps to chew up food and processing. And that's when oftentimes in cultures they ask about when do you start giving a child food. It's when they start getting teeth to where they can actually chew something. But we feel that from a Chinese medicine perspective, people introduce food way too early in this culture. And Junie will talk a little bit about food later on. But children are born with relatively weak digestive systems. And if they're born premature, they're also going to have weak lung qi, okay? And when you hear me